Welcome to ISRA League's Grand Touring Championship, brought to you by the Z1 SimWheel LCD display software and LCD display hardware. You can get all of these excellent dashboards and telemetry readouts on your sim rig with their product. Visit z1simwheel.com for more information on that and the excellent custom wheels that they build. This is the GTC Season 10 Race 5 at Virginia International Raceway. I'm Daniel Quaroni, aka tonight Sick Racing Dan, and with me here are Brian Carey.
Sore throat Brian.
And Anthony Muniz.
And healthy Anthony.
We're sad bunch tonight. Alright. Well, we're going to see the points here in just a second. Here we go. Wyatt Foster still with his perfect score of 75 points. Daniel Gralty in second there, 9 points down, but a big jump to Brent Briles, who's fighting it out with Mike Young and Ryan Huff real close for third place in the HPD. And Brian Carey's a bit farther behind there and pretty solid in the 6th spot. Now in the Corvette we have Dima Swana, also with a perfect 75 points. Todd Carver trailing by just 4. Jeremy Burris there got a pretty safe spot in 3rd at the moment. Lauren Bateman, Timothy Stahl, John Kuzlin. I guess between Timothy Stahl and John Kuzlin, that 5th spot's up for grabs, but a big jump there down to 7th for Brennan Mercer. And finally, James Cullen, the first leader without a perfect score with 71 points. Chris Dameron Jr. trailing by 2 there, and Corey Davis in 3rd, down by 6. A little bit of a jump to Russell Cow down by 13, and a big jump down to 5th in Anthony Muniz with 23 points down. Then Troy Harder, Robin Ainscoe tied. Brian, take us to VIR.
Okay, well this track is pretty crazy. I mean, you can see here there's a lot of twists and turns and a lot of elevation changes you can't see here as well. One of the big features of the track is the fact there's a lot of green kind of grassy areas on the outside of the track. The S is going up the hill there, 7, 8, 9, 10. Lots of chance if you get it wrong to go flying off the track forever in the grass. Another big one there is 17 and 17A, the hog pen corner. Very, very interesting elevation change there, and if you go off the track, it's very hard to get back on because there's not a lot of runoff room. So a lot of challenges to this track, and it's a lot of fun to drive, but very stressful.
Yeah, particularly the multi-class action here is extremely difficult. Alright, for qualifying, we've got Wyatt Foster on pole with a 133.271. Brian Carey on the first row next to him with 134.75. Mike Young, Daniel Gralty on the second row. Ryan Huff, John Kelly on the third. Matthew Voigt, James Cohn on the fourth. And Tim McLeish and Lance Snyder on the 5th row in HPD.
Alright, and then for the GT1 Corvette, Todd Carver took the pole, 142.5, with Timothy Stoll just behind by a couple tenths. Jeremy Burris and Mike Kelly will be on the 2nd row with Lauren Bateman and Daniel Buck, newcomer to GTC, on the 3rd. Marty Jeffries and Chuck Chambliss on the 4th row with Stephen Clark and John Kuzlin running out the 5th and the top 10 for the GT1.
Alright, Russell Cow taking another pole here in the McLarens, 46.375, with Corey Davis right alongside him, just a couple tenths behind. Chris Dameron Jr., even less time behind him, with James Cullen on the 2nd row. Robin Ainscoe and Anthony Muniz on the 3rd. Troy Harder and Daniel Burness on the 4th. And then Colin McLean and Andy Fuller rounding out the top 10. Man, it looks like a nice swarm of McLarens there. And just an interesting side note, on my way home from work and grocery shopping today, I saw someone in my city driving around in a MP412, which almost caused me to crash my car and weep softly by the side of the road.
Very nice indeed.
And by softly, I mean blubbering like an infant.
Making our way, the cars making their way through a very difficult part of the circuit right now. This is going down through South Bend, which is turn 10. Very fast. I probably might look for some passing there from the faster classes. Well, not the Corvettes, obviously, but LMP might try and squeeze their way through there. Oak Tree going to be very much one line. If you watch real races, sometimes you see guys make very, very I guess ballsy moves is really the only way to describe that, going up side by side through there. And very exciting to watch. We'll have to see if we see any of that here in this race. You can see a big, large gap opening up between the classes as we get ready to go green, and it won't be too much longer now.
Yeah, one of the things there, a lot of times, especially going with something like Oak Tree, and there's a few other places too, sometimes you'll see an LMP make a pass, and it might look crazy, but really all they're trying to do is not die. Because a lot of these elevation changes, the way these corners are, braking while turning, that sort of thing, you're really going to have to commit to a certain speed during the corner, and sometimes if there's a slower class car in front of you, the attempt to pass is really more of an attempt not to crash. So it'll be hard to try to discern the difference for those viewers at home, but we're about to go green, so let's go to that.
Alright, and looks like a little bit of a staggered start here at the top of the LMP field. Brian Carey holds back just a bit to be able to judge when Wyatt Foster makes the jump. Pace car is in, now becomes a safety car, and Wyatt Foster is off. Good jump by him. Brian Carey pulls over to the right side to hold on to the second place position, keeping Mike Young and Gralty behind him. See, there's a little bug there. Not all those cars are not pulling into the pit lane, so it's just a little bit of a bug because of the closeness.
Yeah, track pit entrance is right basically on the racing line in some cases, so that'll be happening a lot, especially here at the start.
Looks like a pretty clean start from all of the classes as they barrel their way through turn 1. McLarens have already caught the back of the Corvette field, so even though there was quite a large gap left, the McLarens were able to pull right back onto the front. Russell Cow sporting a Toro Rosso paint job, which is quite nice there. Oh, and that's a Corvette off there at turn 3, so it looks like we'll have to see if he's able to come back on. It's pretty easy to run it wide into the tires there. Grass is very slippery. On board now with McLean as they make their way through the left hook and snake section of the circuit for the first time. Smoke up ahead. Looks like another car's off. Oh, and that is a Corvette.
Clark Reed.
Clark Reed. Thank you, Brian. Looked like he had flipped his car.
I've got James Mines right on the tail of John Kelly going down this long, long back straightaway here. Point out this is a low downforce track for these LMPs, so they're coming down this straightaway at quite a high rate of speed, but early in the race James Mines thinking better of making that move.
Also Matthew Voigt here in the number 25 Porsche, just on the back of James Mines. Looks like Tim McLeish also back there, so a lot of the LMPs sticking fairly close over the first lap. Looks like the top guys have already managed to break away quite a bit. It's a quick shot of Andy Fuller making their way through the roller coaster, as it were. Someone else is off there at turn 14. That's a Corvette. Oh, and that looks like Corey Davis there, who was up in P2. So he's, looks like collided with a Corvette there. I couldn't catch who the Corvette was, but that drops him back quite a long way through the McLaren field.
Yeah, a lot of shifting and going. We'll try to make sense of it as best we can there. There's a newcomer, Daniel Buck. He's battling in 4th place as close racing. Oh, wow. That was an interesting... I didn't know that was physically possible for that to have happened. He just kind of slid sideways and was going straight again. Just, anyways, so we'll just follow that through there. Obviously got a little bit of wheel spin. I think Daniel's coming from South America, so basically what that'll mean for you viewers at home is those connections not quite as solid. They're not getting as many inputs from his, you can see Troy Harder flashing there, not as many inputs from his computer, so sometimes it'll look like his car's doing slightly strange things, as Troy's is up ahead.
Yeah, it looks like he caught too much curb there, and Harder's going to try and block out Daniel Verness as they head down, going into the S's there. Verness powers on in the inside and takes the position away, moves him up into 6th place. Looked a little bit exaggerated on our screen, but it was still quite a bit of oversteer. You can see he lost that momentum heading down towards turn 7. And on board now, looking back at Mike Kelly from Timothy Stoll's car, currently holding P2 as they head down that very long back straight into turns 14 and 14A. You can see the Corvette's really slowing. I think they brake quite a bit earlier than the McLarens there. The McLaren's actually close to being on par with where the LMP brakes, going on in after the long straights here at VIR.
Yeah, the McLarens, they're not carrying nearly as much speed into those braking zones as the LMPs, but I'm finding that the actual braking points are very similar to the LMPs, so Corvette's braking a lot sooner coming into those corners.
Yeah, generally there is probably, I'm not sure what the LMPs were getting up to, but there's probably about 30 kilometers difference there. Oh, and that's Marty Jeffries off going through turn 1 and turn 2, so that moves Chuck Chambliss up another position. He's up in P6 at the moment. Also, John Kuzin was able to make his way through.
And
that's Tim Stoll off. That could possibly put him into the tires there. The tires aren't that far off the track, and looks like he hasn't been able to jump right back on the circuit, so he's going to lose a lot of time.
Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of green voids on this track here. Look like there's tires closer to that one there, but let's see, no idea where Tim's gone at this point. Oh, he's dropped behind Lauren Bateman, according to our timing screens there. James Mines finds himself behind Lance Snetter. I'm not sure how that happened. Lance was trailing behind him last time we saw these guys. And those LMPs are getting to about 285 kilometers an hour. I guess that's, well, what, 175, 180 miles an hour, something like that.
And back with Corey Davis, who is battling with his teammate Andy Fuller. Corey Davis qualified very well in the McLaren class, but fell back very early through in lap 1. So he's currently running in 9th position, right? No, 10th position actually. So he's trying to fight his way back up through the field.
Actually, I don't know if you saw there was a bird or a plane, but it looked like a kayak-sponsored car was in this race. So our colleague Daniel Peroni there is back in the saddle for a GTC race.
Yeah, I won't call it a spectacular return, but it's a return.
Let's see, very, very long braking there. Daniel Buck going very deep into the corner. Doesn't quite hit his apex, his turn in properly there, but still chasing down Tim Stoll and Lauren Bateman. Lauren Bateman 3rd, Tim Stoll in 4th, and Daniel Buck, as it says on the screen, currently 5th.
Back on board with Daniel Gralty heading down that very long straight. He has teammate, who is that? Mike Young just in front. Also, I found that in the McLaren, there's you can take turn, at least in the McLaren, you can take turn 1 a multiple. Wow, Gralty.
No, that wasn't going to work.
No. Took a lot of speed into that corner. I'm not sure if he missed his braking point or if he didn't account for the extra speed from the bit of draft he was getting or what was happening there, but definitely almost ran at the back of his teammate. A good thing he missed, but he's going to lose some time because of that.
I find that a very, very difficult corner to brake for in all classes there because you really got to try to hit that apex, but you can't get full braking on as you do that because you're still turning the car somewhat. So, oh, it looks like Lauren Bateman's had a corner cutting or some such thing. He was braking purposely down the straightaway there. Let these two guys by.
Also, we see Timothy Stoll there just in front of Daniel Buck, so looks like he was able to recover from that off without too much of a problem, other than lost time, no visible damage on his car.
And Tim Stoll, like an octopus, uses his ink pouch to spray behind him to obscure the view of Daniel Buck. Or maybe he just put a wheel off, I couldn't quite tell, but...
On board with John Kuzin now heading down towards turn 1. Looks like he had a pretty good run on Chuck Chambliss, but looks like he might have backed out of that just a little bit. Chambliss was holding a bit of a more inside defensive line heading down towards turn 1. And we still have over an hour left in the race, so there's plenty of time to make passes, although this is probably one of the most difficult places to make a pass here that we will be running in the Season 10 of the GTC. Really two major points going into turn 1 as the cars are right here, and then down turn 14. You can make passes in other places, as we saw in the McLarens here going into turn 7 and the S's, but much more difficult.
Well,
there's someone off there.
Is that Jeffries again?
It was a white car, so it was him.
Maybe it was Mike Kelly.
Mike Kelly. Mike Kelly was falling down to 5th, so it was probably Mike Kelly. Yeah.
The other white car in the Corvette. Well, I guess Chuck Chambliss is white too, but kind of hard to tell at speed like that when those cars are flying by.
And James Mines, looks like Tim McLeish was letting James Mines make the pass there. I'm not sure if he just felt he was faster and trying to get through. A lot of guys will just focus on surviving this race because, like Brian pointed out at the top of the broadcast when we were making our way through the track map, very difficult circuit here, and if you go off, it's pretty easy, especially in the first sector of the circuit. Pretty easy to make contact with the wall and get damaged, so a lot of guys focus on just surviving this race.
Yeah, it feels like the whole track is off camber. Like, even the parts that are on camber feel like they're off camber. It's just a really, really, I mean, as you can see from the helicopter shot here, it is kind of narrow, but I don't know, there's just something about it that just seems weird. And like, it's hard to, some tracks you can kind of drive like others, get an idea of setup. VIR is just not like that. It's very, very unique.
And back with some McLarens now. Corey Davis fighting to catch up to Colin McLean there in the number 68. You can see the Scottish flag painted on top of his McLaren. These guys are fighting it out for 8th position in class. Corey Davis able to get past Fuller. There's Fuller's car right there, so he's able to get past Fuller at some point in the race. We didn't see that, but those guys all in a fight for the... Oh, and that looks like Davis off the track again. That was coming out of what, turn 4? Yeses? Turn 2.
No, it was closer, coming out of turn 1 to turn 2 there.
So I'm not sure. It looks like he probably just lost that all on his own, as the overall race leader there, Wyatt Foster, was making his way through the back of the GT3 cars.
This is a very difficult track for those LMPs to get through cleanly. There are certain places where you're faster, and there's other places where you can, there's like that. It was kind of hairy, like where you can easily make a pass. The only problem is all these cars are such on a razor's edge. It's very easy for the car that you're trying to pass, who's not trying to do anything untoward. Basically what they'll do is they'll get a little twitchy and off you both go. So the margins are very, very thin.
Especially in the McLaren going there through the South Bend, or turn 10 and 11 section. The little straight between turns 10 and 11, you can easily make a pass race. You've got a great run, but McLarens are so on the edge. Oh, there's another car off there in the McLaren, I think. Nope, that's Marty Jeffries again, unfortunately. So catching Jeffries off tracks that he's having, seems like we caught everyone so far, so unfortunately for him. But yeah, the McLaren's very on edge going through that very fast section, turn 10 and 11. So you can make passes there. I know I had 1 or 2 made on me during this race, but McLaren very much on edge to take all this, to take all their speed through there, so pretty difficult.
Yeah, it really highlighted the difference between, for example, the HPD and the McLaren here, since I've been driving the HPD before. And, for example, through the S's, the LMP cars just fly straight, flat out, no real problem at all. But these McLarens got to lift, you got to be really careful taking those curbs, and just a lot more challenge throughout the entire race. Constantly, you can never let up because there's always something coming up that's going to give you a challenge.
That's the thing too, is the LMPs are pretty flat out by themselves through those corners there, but you put yourself a little bit offline. As you can see, we're coming up to those S's right now. Put yourself a little bit offline, the grip's not necessarily there. And sometimes you don't know exactly when it's going to go. Oops, something's happening up ahead.
Yep, speaking of someone going, and he's a mistake to make. Looks like Marty Jeffries and Wyatt Foster, was that right?
Looks right to me, and Brian Carey is momentarily leading this race. Looks like Wyatt Foster is able to get back on the circuit without too much of an issue, but he's currently trailing by about half a second behind Brian Carey. But Brian Carey may actually get a lap let out of here, this circuit, or this race.
I didn't think I was going to see that again this season.
Very close battling here between Colin McLean and Troy Harder. McLean going to look up on the inside going into turn 14 and not going to quite have it under braking. There's also the LMP of Ryan Huff trying to make his way through this battle of GT3 cars. Really, there's not a whole lot of area for him to go by. Oh, and there's the battle at the top of the overall race. Brian Carey, and there's the timing line, so he does get a lap led. Wyatt Foster on the very back. I don't think Brian's going to fight him too hard there going into turn 1, so that's going to be Wyatt Foster taking the lead back. Well, that's an extra point there for Carey, which will help him move up the point standings a little bit, hopefully.
Better than not having it, but I see Wyatt going flying past there, and we're back with James Vines trying to run down Matthew Voigt. And there's Dan Crony's kayak-sponsored Kaiser racing machine. Very cool livery on that car. Actually, as you go on board with Stephen Clark, you're very much more deep sounding engine backfiring coming from that Corvette, which is really cool. But just before we started the broadcast, I was watching the video of the iRacing's update of the Lotus 79, and that sounded pretty good.
Yeah, it's much less digital sounding, so I'm definitely looking forward to getting those updates and also getting updates to the current cars we're racing right here, as Brian Carey is holding off Mike Young for P2 in the LMP class. Mike Young really able to close the gap between himself and Brian. Looks like a bit of traffic has come into play here. As you can see, they're making their way through what would be the leaders of the GT3 class. Kev Damron just in front of Carey, and then looks like the class leader Russell Cow just in front of him. So close battling all over the place. You can see battle for P2 going to be pretty close, heading down towards into turn 1. Brian's going to defend the inside, not give Mike Young any room to try and make a move up on the inside. See if he can't get the slingshot going around, because it is possible, at least in GT cars, to get that. But Brian Grid exiting the corner, and he's going to maintain that second place position. And you heard Bateman. He's catching
all over those curves.
Yeah, that is. You really don't want to catch those curves. Oh, that
Daniel Buck was offline the whole way up the S's there, and you can see he lost a lot of speed at the end of them.
Yeah, that's the thing, is you can tell basically how this the online system works here. It makes these cars look as fluid as possible most of the time. There's a kind of prediction system. So say you get like based on the ping anywhere from like 15 to 20 inputs a second. And in that case, it'll look pretty smooth. But if in the case of, as we see, Kuzlin and Chambliss battling up the hill here, in the case of Daniel Buck, where maybe he's only getting 2 or 3 a second, when something different happens and just driving around the track, he goes wide, he slides. It's going to look a little funnier than that. So we'll just watch that number 10 there. The difference. Some of these other cars, oh man.
And there was an attempted move there going up, or a defensive move there going through the Oak Tree corner as contact between the top two GT3 cars. Looks like they both came away unscathed with that. Neither of them went off, but close racing here at the top of the GT3 field. Looks like
James Cullen is right behind him too.
Oh yeah, he's only a few tenths off of these guys as well. And looks like Damron has some pretty good pace at the moment, and it's just about to become a three-way battle here as these guys squabble. Cullen is making up time. Oh, and that's Rob Ainscoe off there going into turns 14. Hopefully he's able to get the car slowed down and not track back over. Okay, it looks like he was. But yeah, that was Ainscoe off into the grass. And I think that's going to move a couple guys up positions.
Like I said, that's the roller coaster section. Very, very aptly named because it is a ride.
Back at the front of the field is Chris Damron Jr. still trying to make his way past Russell Cow. Looks like James Cullen has also he stabilized the gap. He's 7 tenths back from these guys. Also, there's another guy off up just in front of them. I think it was a Corvette. Possibly Steven Clark.
Hard to say. I didn't quite see.
Yeah, it is Steven Clark.
No,
okay, yeah. Thought that was his car, but I couldn't quite tell. He just only caught a very small glimpse. So it doesn't look like he really affected this battle for the lead of GT3. Was able to get back on circuit and start pulling away from these guys without too much of an issue. But great action here at the front of the GT3 field.
Yeah, I love that camera when they come under the bridge there, coming up towards the S's. That was a really cool shot. Love those static cameras.
And Damron, very good under braking. A little bit of oversteer coming out of the corner. Let's see if that allows Cullen to catch back up. Yeah, you can see the amount he's dropped from Russell Cow at the front of the field. Cullen now going to look and see if he can't put a move on Damron as they head down towards turn 14. He's going to take a look up on the inside, and Damron's really pinching him off on the grass. Cullen is heading into the braking zone, and that's going to allow... Oh, Damron goes wide, though. He overshoots. Oh, right into the leader! Oh. And that takes both of them out.
Wow, you saw James just setting that one up right there. Damron came to the inside to block that off. James was having none of it. He said he was going to throw that up the inside. Damron lost sight of what was going on ahead of him, ended up off the track, and sadly into the side of Russell Cow.
And that was a pretty significant hit. Here we can see the old leader, that's Russell Cow, crabbing his car quite badly. I have to imagine he'll be into the pit lane pretty soon to try and get that repaired. So unfortunate though, like Brian said, I think Damron really took his eyes off what was happening. He was so offline as he headed into the braking zone going into turn 14 that he was never going to get the car slowed down in time to make that first little kink to head into 14A, and that was the result.
And James Cullen using his Sith powers to force the other driver into a mistake.
Very good way to describe that.
This isn't the turn you're looking for. Bam. Done. There's Russell Cow there. It looks like Andy Fuller's coming around. Not yet, but possibly soon. He's got, is that Verness behind him?
Yeah, that is Daniel Verness, and they're on board with him right now. He's holding P6, and looks like some attrition or offs from other drivers. You can see, Kyle's really struggling with his car right now. I have to wonder if he's staying out to try and make his pit window before he tries to pit for that damage. McLarens are just about in the pit window where they can fill up the tanks and make it to the end, so I have to wonder if that's what his strategy is right now, to try and salvage whatever sort of decent position he can get from this race. But he has fallen almost all the way back to the bottom of the field at the moment. So, and that's Qualroni off there at Oak, and that looks like he may have made a bit of contact with the tires there.
Yeah, I think that was very, very light contact. Car was completely unharmed, but lost a lot of time from it.
Yeah, the McLarens are... Oh, go ahead, Brian.
It's one of those areas where just, it's so slow when it happens. You're just waiting and waiting and waiting. It feels like it takes forever to end up crashing.
Oh, we have side-by-side action here between Corey Davis and Colin McLean going through the, the roller coaster section. And McLean holds it up on the inside. I thought Davis might be able to defend it. He was going to have it, but Colin McLean gets the power down going into the hog pen section of the circuit and manages to get past Davis for, 7th position in class.
When I see those, it happened last race at Suzuka, but when I see those clips there, I can hear in my head Colin just giggling away the entire time. Really seems to enjoy that side-by-side racing.
Yeah, we saw a great side-by-side action between him and a few other drivers here in GT3 back at Suzuka, making their way through 130R, which is very difficult to go side-by-side on. We saw other guys do it and fail, so yeah, he's definitely a very skilled driver when it comes to close racing. We've got Corey Davis now trying to fight his way back past McLean as to head down through the Snake and down towards the S's. Here's a battle between Andy Fuller and Daniel Verness. These guys are fighting for P4 at the moment. Also looks like there's the LMP of John Kelly making his way through. He's having a fairly quiet race, actually. He's holding, P10 at the moment, so I guess it's not all that quiet. We just haven't seen any incidents he's had so far. Meanwhile, Verness making some great ground on Fuller as they made their way through Oak Tree. Really close to gap to see if the draft has any effect. Not a whole lot of drafting here in the McLarens, as we pointed out in previous broadcasts, but it does kind of help to stick you to the back of the guy that you're chasing. Also back at the top of the LMP2 class, these guys are battling out for P2. It's Brian Carey holding on to that position right now, but he has Mike Young just behind. It's pretty much non-stop action right now at this moment in the race. Looks like 77 of Tim Stoll there. It was not quite enough momentum. Brian Carey didn't quite have enough momentum to carry his way past. Oh, and that looks like Gralty there off just behind. He caught right back up, but he was off in the grass, and that may have caused contact with the tires.
I know we're back to Andy Fuller there, but Verness isn't up there. Verness, I found he's kind of yo-yoing back and forth up the standings here. I think he's made a spin or two here. He's been up ahead of Andy for a bit. Now he's behind him, but now he's back up to 5th place, so very interesting dynamic there with Corey Davis making a run at Colin McLean. But yeah, to that moment there going around Tim Stoll, I got to the outside of Tim there. Not because I was trying to pass, but when I came over that crest there, just momentum, knowing that if I had slammed on the brakes, I probably would have spun out. So I just held on, went to the outside, slowed the car down, and waited. Oh, Davis is off game. I don't know if he hit anything. It looked like he had it under control, but very difficult part of the track. Actually, I'm trying to think of the part of the track that's not difficult, and doing something straightaways are a little sketchy at times.
And it looks like Verness has fallen back from Davis or Fuller just a little bit. Oh, but that's Fuller off and very sideways, making his way through turn 10. Looks like he actually managed to save it. He did a little bit of a drift there in the grass, a little bit of a rallying to save the car, and he should be able to continue without too much of an issue, although he'll lose a position there to Verness.
Well, yes, drift, if you mean by that peeing in his driver's suit, then yes, that's exactly what happened there. I was very much sideways. He was looking out his... things are going wrong when you're not looking at your windscreen. You're looking at your driver's side window to see where you're going.
Yeah, exactly. And then back with the battle for P2 and LMP, and we've got Mike Young, almost said his teammate there, Gralty, but Mike Young still battling with Brian Carey. These guys staying very close even through the traffic. And looks like Daniel Gralty has really dropped. Yeah, he's dropped down to 11th position in LMP2. So unfortunately, looks like he made contact with the tires and probably had some if not race any damage, it's going to put him back a long way. It's very unfortunate there, but very easy to do there at Oak Tree. If you get off, really, you have to be in a GT car to be able to survive. The LMP cars are just a little bit too delicate. So down into the braking zone. Looks like Mike Young pretty good under braking. Let's see how good he is coming out of the corner. Traffic really not playing a part anymore. These guys have a clean track in front of them. So good onboard shot here as they make their way through this tight first sector. And Young really gaining time on Carey at the moment as they make their way through turns 4 and 5. Now through the S's here, or the Snake complex down towards the S's. Looks like Carey able to be a little bit faster through there and maintain his gap. Right now these guys are about half a second apart, and I think it's been that way for the entire 20 minutes that we've been running or so. 20.
Yeah, it's ebbed and flowed a little bit, but it's been pretty close.
Even with traffic too, because I forget the exact number, but I remember one of the LMP drivers saying that you can easily lose 10 or more seconds depending on where you catch traffic at. Is that right?
Yeah, I just know that after I got past Wyatt earlier in the race, so you saw that I think it was a lap and a half. I was already 9 seconds behind him. So.
Especially, I think if you catch them in the slower first sector of the circuit is where you can lose the most time. If you catch them down around towards Oak Tree, you don't lose quite as much. The GT cars once they're up to speed, making their way through the S's. Of course, it's not generating the downforce that you see on the prototypes, but they can make their way through that section of the circuit at a fairly decent pace. And now we're back with Davis and McLean. Looks like Davis able to close the gap back up to Colin McLean after just a couple laps of going off the circuit right here in this corner, actually. So he's managed to save it, not drive into the tires. That car still looks in pretty good shape. I don't see any visual damage on it. So he's managed to make his way back up to fight Colin for 6th position as we go back to the guys fighting it out for P2. And great opportunity there for, well, it's not really an opportunity. He really caught up. Mike Young really caught up to Brian Carey there as they got caught up behind the sister team car of Andy Fuller, but Carey with a very good car placement, not allowing Mike Young to have an opportunity to make a move, so he holds on to that spot.
It's funny, I kind of remember doing this, but this looks really frantic right now.
And this is by far the closest battle that we have in the LMP2 class. Looks like Lance Snyder and Matthew Voigt actually are pretty close, but not nearly as close as this half second that we have right now. Those guys separated by roughly 4 seconds at the moment. Ooh, catching a curb there, that could have been risky and launched Mike Young off into the grass, but he's got a great run coming down out of the straightaway. Looks like Brian Carey got held up a little bit there by Verness in the GT3 car. Carey gonna have to defend the inside going down into turn 1. He did it before. Let's see if Huff can, no, not Ryan Huff. Mike Young can make a move. Not able to do it. Carey better under the braking and able to get the power down, so he holds on to that position, but looks like both these guys very evenly matched here in the LMP2 car. Oh, and that's Carey off.
Oh yeah, that's what happened.
And it looks like you're able to recover fairly quickly. No damage there?
No damage.
That's a pretty tight section of the circuit, actually, so it was pretty lucky. You can see the Armco barrier and the tires there very close to the circuit, so you got off lucky there, I'd say.
Yeah, just sadness as I realized my first contact points there for the off track, so... think it was last season we ran here in the Daytona Prototypes. I got through the entire race with 0 incident points. It means no wheel off the track, no spin, no contact with anything. It was, trust me, that was a very hard thing to do. So I was hoping to do it again here, but unfortunately not to be.
Owen Burris really having a great run there on John Kuzlin as these guys squabble for 5th position in GT1. Burris really had a great run going there through turns 5 and 5/8, but didn't really have the room to put his car around John Kuzlin.
Burris starting for the pit lane for this race here too, so that's why he normally starts closer up front, and I think there might have been a few incidents here and there, but Jeremy is really a beast in this Corvette. I mean, he's been running very well this year.
Yep, he's already managed to get his way up into 6th position, and that's pretty good considering that he had to go through just about every single McLaren which is 11 started the race, so he had to make his way through roughly 11 McLarens before he's even able to get up to the GT1 cars that he's really fighting with. So that's pretty good. He's having a pretty strong run here at VIR. Also, Daniel Buck, who we're seeing right now, ooh, that's Stoll. I don't know if he looks like he made a dive for the pit lane. I'm not sure what that was all about.
Well, not an intentional dive for the pit lane, I don't think. That was, he was pretty sideways there.
I was just about to point out, yeah, there's Stoll right there, so I'm not sure if he possibly made contact when he was sliding sideways towards the pit lane, but he definitely is in the pit lane now, so he will probably be making his stop. I was just going to point out that Daniel Buck having a very solid race here. This is his debut race here in the Grand Touring Championship. He's currently running in P2. It was P3 before Stoll had his incident there, exiting the hog pen.
All right, as you can see here, Tim Stoll has pinned his virtual right front jack man into the tire of the wall there. That's going to leave a mark.
Because these guys use air jacks, so you don't have to worry about the jack.
Oh, sorry, not the air jacks, the right front wheel gun.
Oh, yes, okay.
Someone got crushed, is all I'm saying.
Someone's getting
medics attending to him.
Yeah, someone's getting a medical bonus.
All right, so let's see if we can
we're in this for the long haul. We're going to keep going on this shot.
Now, this isn't a Todd Carver shot, but this is...
Notice the virtual intensity of his pit crew as they work furiously to try and get him out of the pits as quickly as possible.
Also, you can hear other cars, so you knew that they were still racing. So, and we're back.
Yes, back with Corey Davis as he continues his fight with McLean. You can see just up in front of him. Guy's still fighting it out for 6th position in the class. Corey Davis able to catch back up to McLean very quickly after he had his off there going through corner number 3. But once he's caught back up to McLean, he hasn't been able to make the pass to get around. Back now with Jeremy Burris as we ride on board there. That was a nice shot going through turn 17 and 17A. It looks like John Kuzlin making his way into the pit lane, so that elevates Jeremy Burris temporarily up into 4th position. And of course, he'll still have to make his pit stop, so he'll be giving that back at some point. I can't actually make out who is just in front of him. That could be... No, it's not. It's a lap car. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, Lauren Bateman, 3rd place car, is about 9 seconds up the road. So.
Yeah.
Or also, 35 minutes will be half distance in this race, so I mean, we're going to start seeing guys, it looks like, cutting it in half. So John Kuzlin diving in just a touch early, maybe get some fresh tires, and maybe either getting a gap there on Jeremy Burris, but McLaren's much wider fuel window, and LMP's relatively wide fuel window, but you'll start seeing pit stops for the LMPs around 35-minute mark up on your screen there. Also, one thing I'm just realizing right now, too, is I'm still using my, $12 microphone that I bought, 10 years ago. I'm looking at the floor here, and I have a super professional microphone sitting on the ground for some reason I was using for something else. Could easily be hooked up here, and you get much better sound quality out of me, which I know everyone at home is clamoring for, but, yeah, I gotta remember to do that before the next race, try that thing out. It's wireless, too, which means I can, walk around and pace and do a lot of other stuff.
You could stand up and jump around when really exciting stuff is happening and all that. That's Daniel Buck. Jump around, Brian. Get that wireless mic out.
No, I'm stuck underneath my desk right now. If I jump around, I hit my knee again. Don't make me jump. Anyway, so Daniel Buck has dropped back behind Lauren Bateman, but he's holding on. Doesn't look like he's taking any damage. He should be fine. you're always a little sad when you go off the track. I mean, you do feel shame, but there's still a lot of time left, and he can regain that back.
Yeah, 36 minutes left in the race, and he's had very strong pace. He's managed to, I think he started a little bit around mid-pack in the GT1 class, but he's managed to get up towards the front. So he's having a very strong debut race here, so that's good to see. And also good to see to be able to get him on the broadcast.
Yeah, exactly. It was good to see some new fresh faces here. He looks like a good racer, very active in the forums there. So welcome to Daniel through the broadcast, and looks like he's taking no time coming back at Lauren Bateman. But back to me and my stuff or whatever. I was just saying that next time I decide to go grab a coffee, at least I can keep talking. Oh, really squirrely up there for Bateman. Wow, super squirrely.
Yeah, that is a very difficult section of the circuit here, especially in the GT cars. They're not as glued down to the circuit as the LMP prototypes are. And if you get offline or you take too much curb, especially in the McLaren, well, my experience is with the McLaren, but especially if you take too much curb going through that section, you really have to get off the throttle. You can take it flat if you if your line is through there as perfectly. I've done it plenty of times, but if you're just a little bit off, you take a little bit too much curb, you need to really back off or you're going to have a crash. And luckily, I don't think we've really seen anybody do that, but a couple close calls so far.
You can see how coming out of Hogpen there, those LMPs can really fly by the McLarens. I've driven the McLaren around here a few times. I did a test session this past week, just kind of try it out. And honestly, it doesn't feel a lot different to the LMPs, but you can really see the speed difference here. And the cars there is Bateman's into the pits and Buck coming down the street as Wyatt Foster looks like he's coming flying past him. There's Chuck Chambliss in the Golf Corvette. Very nicely painted car.
Always a fan of the Golf liveried cars.
Do you guys still have those stations in the States?
If they do, they aren't by me, which is unfortunate.
Hey, there's Ryan Huff. Looks like he's just come out of a pit stop, actually, so he's fallen back behind Matthew Voigt, you can see there. There's McLaren of Andy Fuller. Lance Snyder is in his Ed Force 1 Iron Maiden.
Now back with Lauren Bateman, who's got actually Jeremy Burris just behind there. He's running in 5th position.
Ooh, that sounds like a spin. But not. He was able to hold on to it, but that does not good for the tires, and man, that black Corvette there looks like it's stalking him.
Okay, I hope ready for another exciting pit stop.
What is it? The director is just... Normally the director would switch the cars changing places, but now it's decided that in the algorithm somewhere, the car sitting in pits is... Nope, hot track. The track is hot.
Closer shot.
Stay off the track. It's hot.
That other shot was no good because we actually did see cars racing, so forget about that one. Yeah, I think I have to make an adjustment. That's no good.
But on the plus side, I'm on the broadcast.
Exactly.
Nice pit stop.
All right, so here's Daniel. No, Burris coming down Lauren Bateman. So it's Jeremy Burris chasing down Lauren Bateman.
Ooh,
Daniel Buck.
Bateman very close, squarely under brakes. He caught a little bit of the curb there in the turn 14, and Burris is putting a lot of pressure on him as they head through roller coaster and now through hog pen. And I don't think Bateman has made his pit stop yet, so Burris is looking to try and get by him as quickly as possible to not lose any time to the guys that he's actually fighting with. See, looks like oh. I don't know if that was intentional or what happened there, but that was so close between Burris and Bateman.
I know from being in that situation before, Burris is probably a little late in the brakes there. Is you're racing someone, you're expecting to race him hard, and suddenly he slows up, and it scares you, your brain's not ready for it, and luckily Jeremy was able to recompose himself and get that car slowed down for turn 1. And when you're following around Lance Snyder there, I don't know what it is, I just get the impression, like watching him go around sometimes, it just looks like he's having a lot of fun chasing guys down. Because he's been pretty high up in the standings right now. He's been finishing a lot of races. Last year he won the Clean Driver Award, obviously, but just one of those circumstances, just watching me, always seems to be battling with someone, always seems to be chasing someone down. So coming from a guy who gets near the, well, I guess I'm in second right now, but you know, gets near the front of the field sometimes and ends up like a minute behind Wyatt Foster. Kind of long for those races where you have to chase someone down.
Well, that tends to happen when you're racing against someone that was 1/10 of a second off of the fastest time or the world record here at VIR, I think.
Yeah, something crazy like that. That's there's all those things too. I always look at the thing and say, okay, if I get within 1.5 seconds of the world record, I'm feeling pretty good. And I set down a time in qualifying here, which I thought was fantastic, and suddenly Wyatt pulls in 1.5 seconds faster than me. So, I mean, when I found that out, I felt a little bit better, because that's, you know, on average where I'd like to be behind world record. But damn, is all I gotta say. So good for Wyatt, but I mean, every so often, if you could just take a slope hill or something like that. Ryan Huff making a pass on Matthew Voigt. That was a very nice move there. Looks like Ryan's made a pit stop, and Matthew has not, so Ryan back up to 5th. Mike Young in the pits.
And Mike Young was leading Brian Carey after he had his near crash there going through the Snake Corner Complex. So we'll have to see where those guys exit in relation to everyone else. Looks like he's actually falling down by quite a bit.
Actually, I think he had an off.
Oh, okay.
He had dropped behind me, the score there, and I remember during the race seeing, there he is, coming out of the pits, seeing him nose it into the barrier in Oak Tree, I believe.
All right, well, thank you for that insight, but because of that, looks like his teammate, James Mines, was able to pull a position on him. He's up into 7th. Oh, and that's Matthew Voigt off and hard into the tires. And
Die hard? Maybe not.
Oh, and he has beached that car, and that is not getting out of there, unfortunately.
Well, those rear wheels are off the ground, and
the front wheels are too.
Oh, he's trying. Just, oh, I feel bad. He was trying really hard.
Yeah, that does sort of suck when you get attached to the tires like that. Although, it wouldn't really matter, because with that impact, you'd be out of the race anyways.
Yeah. Reminds me of that famous picture of Andre de Cesaris, I believe, in the McLaren crashing backwards into the tires, and they had the Michelin billboard where it literally looks like the Michelin man is running away from his crashing car. Hope you kids at home can Google that one. De Cesaris Michelin man. And de Cesaris being the usual spelling. So I shouldn't have to tell you how to spell.
Yeah.
De Cesaris.
Sound it out.
Yeah, it's just that it's easy.
We've got James Mines here in the number 84 Red Bull car, and he looks like he was chasing down Lance Snyder. Those guys are currently fighting for 5th position, but I don't believe Snyder has made his pit stop yet, so we'll have to see how that plays out. Looks like number 21. Oh no, that was just a little glitch. I was going to call that out, but it was one of the quick glitches that we have here because it's so close. Back to GT3 though. Corey Davis is currently fighting with Troy Harder, and these guys are running in 7th and 8th position right now. Looks like they have made their pit stops for this race. Colin McLean, who Davis was fighting with for most of the race in the first stint, he's up into 5th position. He hasn't made his pit stop just yet, so we'll have to see how that plays out.
Yeah, Corey normally running up front this season here. He's had a little bit of an up and down race. Well, sadly mostly down at this point, but it looks like the car's still underneath him and battling Troy Harder. Again, I know I mentioned it before here too, but just notice this battle, him and Troy Harder, right now it's for 7th position, but very easily we could have seen this battle for 4th position, 3rd position.
Yeah.
6th position. I mean, these guys are, McLaren field is very, very deep and very entertaining to watch. And oh, the close one there as Troy Harder gave him room on the inside. Corey made an attempt, couldn't get it done, and continues chasing him down.
Yeah, you can definitely run a couple different lines going in through turn 1. You can take the wide entry, get a late apex, and try and get the power down much more quickly than if you're trying to hold more towards the inside. It's a very interesting corner to one of the very many interesting corners here at VIR, and looks like Davis has some really great pace exiting the Snake Complex down towards the S. He's going to take a peek up on the inside. I don't think he's going to try and force it through on the inside, but no, that's going to be harder holding on to the positions right now. Looks like Davis has some pretty good pace, and remember, I'm not sure if can't confirm that Harder's actually made a pit stop yet, so if he hasn't, Davis much fresher tires, and that could be playing a part into this battle.
Yeah, this is good to watch. I mean, this is like you say, when you see the LMPs around, it looks like these cars are going really slow, but right now, nothing slow about this. This is a great battle. Looks like he's got him. I have to say, it looks like he'll have the ideal braking line there on the inside. On the brakes, let's see if Troy's able to... Nope.
Beautiful.
Corey Hope on the corner. Nice.
Yeah, that was beautifully executed there. He's just made him get a little bit offline, had to make a harder brake a little bit earlier so he could make the corner there. And that was a basically textbook move on how you should be passing someone going into that corner, so that was well done. James Maya's not quite close enough to make a similar move here on Lance Snyder, but maybe in a couple laps... Let's see if he can't do it. Looks like he's actually gaining a decent amount under draft, which is a bit unusual here for the LMP cars, because we don't usually see draft affect those guys too much, but he was definitely gaining there at the end of the straight.
Well, it's actually going on so far. I just realized we've got 25 minutes left, so LMP pit stop should be concluding within the next, call about 5 minutes or so here. And then once we can see that, we'll see how everything shakes out. Ryan Huff, I believe, nope, just one of those phantom things there. I'm just looking at my screen saying he's in the pits. But yeah, just LMP battles all over the place. Lance Snyder 5th, looks like it's James Vine 6th. And before we're at the Ryan Huff, Tim McLeish battle, both equally close, about half a second each.
And Miles looks like he has pretty good pace right now on Lance Snyder. This is actually pretty good race for the LMP cars. We haven't seen a whole lot of close racing in that class this season. It's not the battling we're seeing isn't, you know, for the highest positions in their class, but it's still good to see these guys fighting close in the LMP2 car, which you don't always get close racing in, so that's very nice to see.
Yeah, you really don't. That corner right there is absolutely diabolical. It's fast, it's downhill, and that's also diabolical. Wait, don't, come on.
I think he kept it out of the tires, though.
I heard a crunch.
Oh, did you?
No, he kept it out of the tires.
Did he? Oh yeah, you were right there, weren't you?
Yeah. yeah, I was. I joined him.
Oh, you crashed too?
I spun it, yeah.
Okay, so maybe that was a crunch we heard. The steam whistle car was down that way a couple yesterday, as a matter of fact. I was down near where they brew that delicious beverage, and still like how that car is painted. It's very cool. It's funny I keep talking about steam whistles. I never ever drink it because I have other beers I like more. But I like
well, there goes the endorsement now.
I like the idea of steam whistle. I'm more of a fan of Muskoka Brewery. Their cream ale, extremely delicious. It's like an ice cream float beer. It's the best way to describe it. So smooth. As opposed to the Muskoka Brewery Mad Tom IPA, which tastes like turpentine. Just bizarre that my favorite beer and my least favorite beer are made by the same people.
Well, I guess that means they offer very good variety.
They do.
Well, then you've never had natural ice.
Natural ice? That doesn't sound right.
It doesn't taste right either.
Actually, you know what? I might have had natural ice. It sounds like something I've had when I was down in Vermont.
It's just about the cheapest beer you can find, and oh, it's just so terrible. I mean, it doesn't even taste like beer. It tastes like chemical.
Actually, maybe that doesn't sound right. There's definitely been beers where I've gone out. There's a bar here that has like 150 different kinds of beer, and there was this like 11% beer that we decided to try, and it was so awful, but we had to keep passing it around. We figured it tasted a combination of cigarette butts, Mr. Clean, and coffee grinds.
We do beers on Friday, and we do themes. So it was before the Super Bowl, and the theme was cheap beers, because hey, you know, what goes better with the Super Bowl than cheap beers? So, you know, I got Budweiser and probably good Coors Light and Natural Ice, and oh my god, it was so bad.
There's not a lot of close battles going on the track there. You see Tim McLeish trying to get around Troy Harder, but this is just not one of those places where I feel all that confident just taking a flyer up the inside here, and he's kind of losing touch with Ryan Huff. Although I think, yeah, you know, it's one of those things. And John Kelly. And I think I am actually in the pits. Like, legit in the pits.
Yeah, there you are. Caught a quick glimpse. Looks like, is that Kelly actually passing? Yeah, so that's Kelly passing. Is he not on the same lap? No, he's not on the same lap.
He just passed Lance Snyder.
Oh, okay. That would be why. Yes, Wyatt Foster, who we are not on, I thought not on board with, because this is a different car. This is James Mines. He's fighting with someone, maybe. Actually going to get pinched in there. Oh yeah, there's Tim McLeish just up in front. But yeah, Wyatt Foster, meanwhile, has managed to lap everybody but Brian Carey right now. Oh, and McLeish pulling off the road, so I wonder if he has a problem.
Oh, I know what happened there. Just coming from the radio that Tim forgot to fill up with fuel. He basically just drove it out of gas. So that's what's going on there. Probably because we're talking about beer and he decided to try to join in the conversation, and that's what happens. Actually, I'm not going to say here, but, well, I mean, the next race on the schedule, which has been run, but obviously we haven't recorded yet because we're recording this now, but I had to miss that at a family gathering there, and I almost made it back in time for the race, but then I realized even if I did make it back in time, I was already about, I think, 5 pints into the 9th, so it's not about to jump into that when I got home.
That would make for some a very interesting race from you.
You know what's funny is I did a test actually back in the Grand Prix Legends days to see what would happen. I think it was at Spa in the Honda. Do laps at the Spa, like the old Spa circuit, the 8-mile one, and kind of time my laps. So I'd do a couple laps, I'd have a beer, do a couple more laps, have a beer, and I found I didn't make many more mistakes. I just drove a lot slower and a lot more cautiously. After about the 3rd beer, the lap times dropped way off, but the mistakes dropped off too. So. Do not try that at home, kids. Well, actually, no, I should say, do try that at home. Stay in your house.
Yeah, exactly.
Do not try that in the real world. And as Andy Puller gets passed by what appeared to be a rocket car. Oh, there comes the rocket car back. That was just a Corvette.
And it looks like that is the sister car of Corey Davis a little bit in front of him there. So those guys fighting it out for 6th position. Davis currently holding that position at the moment. Looks like a couple cars have not yet pitted in GT3. Daniel Verness, who is currently leading that class, along with Colin McLean, who's running P3. We just saw James Cullen in the pit lane, so he made his pit stop, and he's good for the race, the rest of the race, but a couple cars have still yet to make a stop.
Is it just me, or does Andy Fuller's onboard there make it look like he's wearing a Power Ranger suit?
It does, sort of, actually.
I can literally hear him watching this broadcast and cursing us, and then promptly considering changing his colors. Or saying, screw you guys. Or saying, you noticed I like Power Rangers. Somehow I think option C is not what's going to happen. That being said, in racing context, those colors are would be kind of cool. Kind of like golf racing.
Are a little golf-like, aren't they? Yeah.
Golf-like, yet still Power Rangers-like.
Yeah. I think it looks like because he's wearing different colored gloves, that's what gives it that effect.
There we are, back again. Actually, good to see some on board with Andy here. As I raced the tail end of the LMP season last year, and he was our actually, no, I don't think we noticed it yet already. He was our Grand Prix Championship. One of the sister ISRA League seasons that ran for 2 seasons. He was the champion both years, so good to see him in some other races here.
Oh, and Mike Kelly's just losing the car there going through turn 3. I'm not sure if he...
pieces fell off there.
Yeah.
It looks a little
like
banged up.
It does, yeah, that right side. Not how it came out of the factory.
Unless the factory had a few beers when they were making it, that's just what happens.
That could be. I'd hope not, because otherwise I'd want a refund, but hey.
As long as they stock the car up. Opposite lock. You saw it right there, folks, right on the TV there. Andy holding on. Not good for the lap time, that's for sure, but anytime you can keep the VIR here, if you can keep it on the black stuff, you're doing all right.
Oh, and Daniel Buck not keeping it on the black stuff, unfortunately. Loses it there through turn 3.
Yeah,
Keeps it out of the
goes
tires,
for that corner. That's the way you want to do it. It's so easy to put into the tires. They're so close there.
Like I say, tires right against the track there. Armco right there. Come up the hill here, you can go off. Pretty sure if you go off to the left here, left driver's side left here, towards the houses, there's a little gap in the fence. And you can go quite some ways. And apparently, according to Andy and some of his buddies there, if you so chose, you could drive through that gap. And there's some sweet jumps back there, so...
Not just that, but I believe he said the border with North Carolina?
I think it's the other side.
Ah.
It's the back straightaway.
And with Verness and, well, Verness McLean out in the pits, but Verness in the pit lanes. James Cullen retakes the lead of the GT3 class.
Got those trees to the left there, 500 yards beyond North Carolina. According to Corey Davis.
Yeah.
I'd like to point out, that was him talking. That's not me. I don't know my... I know where Virginia is and where North Carolina is, but within those states, I have no idea.
Well, we're down to just 14 minutes left in the race, and there are still a few battles that could come into play here. We've been following Davis and Fuller for a few laps now, so those guys still very much in the fight for 6th position in the class. Everywhere else, though, seems like has been pretty much decided. James Mines and Ryan Huff, that could still become a battle. About 3.5 seconds separating Huff from James Mines at the moment. Huff holding on to that last podium position. But other than that, really not a whole lot going on. We still have to see how the pit strategies are going to play out. Cullen McLean has yet to make his pit stop, still holding on to 3rd position in GT3, so we'll have to see how that plays out and how many positions he loses after that. He makes that stop. Here he is right now, actually. He's still holding on to that 3rd place.
Yep, looks like Colin's going as deep as he possibly can, and I think what he'll end up doing is doing a splash and go here towards the end. He's done that strategy before.
Now it's very interesting here because 75 minutes is asking quite a bit on these tires with the way that they are currently working in iRacing. So that's not what I would go with here with all the quick and fast corners that VIR gives you, but interesting strategy. So it'll be very interested to see how that plays out. Uh-oh. I think I made a mistake there. Oh, and there is Corey Davis just making his way past... Who was that? Was that...
Verness.
Okay, thank you. It looked like Cullen McLean for a second, but he's still actually out on the track. So Corey Davis up into 5th position. So that's actually a fairly good recovery race so far. And most likely he might actually gain one more spot once McLean makes his pit stop. We'll have to see how long that takes. And if with only 12 minutes left in the race, I don't think, like Brian said, he's going to take tires. He's going to put a little bit of fuel in to get into the end. So that'll be very interesting to see how that plays out.
Anthony Muniz here, our colleague, is only about a second behind Robin Ainscoe. This is the final podium spot we're looking at right now. And in all likelihood, when Colin has to make his inevitable pit stop, This will be a battle for second place. James Cullen is 32 seconds up the road from Robin.
Now back with James Mines. Looks like he's managed to close the gap a little bit to Ryan Huff. He's just about 2 seconds in front of Mines. You can see he's actually held up behind a GT car. That's our colleague Dan Quaroni. So he's going to be held up quite a bit through the S's section, or the Snake Complex, as they head down towards the S's. So it's going to allow him to close the gap. Now he really needs to get past Quaroni going into the S's. No, he's not going to get it, so he's going to drop quite a bit of time there as they make their way through the S's, and I'll have to see how that plays out, I guess. Looks like McLean into the pit lane now, so Davis will go on past and pick up 4th position, and looks Andy Fuller also should make a pass there as well. I'll have to see. Troy Harder may as well. He's not too far behind.
Well, I'm guessing we should be following Anthony and Robin right now, because looking at the timing screens, they're by far the... there we go. Hey, look at that. I'm smart. So by far the closest battle on the track right now, and it looks to remain that way. So I don't know what the situation is here between the two, setup-wise, tire-wise, when everyone made their pit stops, but definitely look at the timing screens last little while. Anthony has been closing right up on Robin, and wow, you really get to see what the corners are like here, going over the curbs. Like, these are some good shots right now. Look at a really more manic view from the rear camera of Robin Ainsco's car, but you get an idea here. Very still tight battle. You still got to mind your turn-ins and your apexes, and Oak Tree in particular, not to end up in the tree.
Oak Tree, for me, this race was a nightmare because I actually broke my load cell pedal the day of, or the practice before this race. So I was using my clutch pedal as a brake, which in the almost 2 years that I've been sim racing, I've had the load cell on my Club Sport. So that was quite a interesting learning experience here the day before this race.
Oh yeah, man, if I wasn't spinning at Oak, I was running into Oak. I was going wide, I was going narrow. It was terrible.
I think a lot of people, Matthew Boy in particular, were put some sort of like vendetta towards the corner there. It's a great corner in real life. It's one of those things. Like other thing, this iRacing is very, very good and close to real life. As you can see on the screen here, great racing, looks great, feels great, but I get the feeling sometimes corners like that in real life aren't nearly as hairy. Hey, Anthony's got the Vodafone on the side of your suit there. That's kind of cool.
I do, yep. It's I do have a you almost never see it because of the way the camera angles are for these cars, but yeah, I do have a custom suit there to go with my helmet. But yeah, just to the I'd like to say about Oak Tree Corner, it is a fantastic corner to drive when you get it right, but if you get it wrong, it is a nightmare. So lots of fun, but really difficult.
Yeah, you just can't be too aggressive into it, but you also can't be too cautious either. You really got to just kind of let the car, as you're coming up to it right now, brake, turn, let the car kind of coast around, just kind of dragging the brake, dip it in there. That was actually very good by Anthony right there, is because you basically have to, you're braking and turning a little bit, then once you get to your actual turning, you really got to kind of brake to rotate the front of it around, get the front of the car right on that curb to help it rotate, get the car pointed straight and settled in such a way that you can power out of that corner. So the entry is difficult, the apex is difficult, the exit is difficult. A lot of corners sometimes maybe the entry is not as hard, but getting the exit is where you get all your time. Sometimes the entry is all important, whereas Oak Tree, it's a three-part. You have to hit each one of them.
And if you get it wrong, there's a tire barrier just about, I don't know, 10 feet off the track waiting to ruin your car.
Also known as a tear collector.
Yes.
Lots of tears. Oh, nice backfire there coming into the McLaren as Anthony. It doesn't look like he's closing up too much, and if I suddenly go quiet here, it's because there is a massive thunderstorm outside right now.
Oh, that's always fun.
Don't normally see the lightning flashes in the basement, but there you go.
That's when you know it's extra bad.
I'm just going to quickly check my weather radar here to make sure while I've been doing this I haven't missed any sort of, like storm warnings or anything.
So at this point, we talked about the ESTA section a few times there. I am going flat out through there trying to keep pace with Rob at this point. I mean, it's basically flat out. There's 6 minutes left in the race. I'm not even considering, you know, if I screw up, I could drop way back and lose positions to Davis and Verness and Fuller and McLean. It's all about the guy that I'm chasing, and probably not the smartest thing to do if you're trying to score well for the championship. And third in this class with these drivers is, you know, quite an accomplishment in my book. But you know, with someone so close in front, I definitely want to get that last attainable podium position.
Yeah, looks like we got a pretty big one heading our way. Oh, nice. There's a good view of Corvettes going flying by there, and then some LMPs, mine included, I believe. Wow, this is a mess right here.
Oh, that was painful. I remember going back. That was painful just because there was waiting to get on the power, and you can't really get on the power because there's no room for you to get on, and feeling like the guy in front of you, even though he's really not getting away that much, it feels like he's getting away from you by, you know, yards. Oh, and someone else is off. That was Daniel Buck, unfortunately. Looks like he's had another off there at turn 3. And despite a fairly strong performance here in his debut race here in the GTC, he's fallen back down to 5th position. So I guess he's had a couple offs there that have cost him.
Yeah, real trial by fire there to be coming in at VIR, but he still handled himself very well, though.
Yeah.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think he's run into anyone, at least not that we've seen, but now we're back to Anthony running down Robin Ainsko, and man, he is all over him right now, like 0.3 of a second it looks like. Well, I mean, you can see the gap right there. It's close. So you're heading down a roller coaster there towards Hogpen. This is one of those things where, I mean, all things being equal, you're not going to get a great run coming off that to pass someone, but you can force them into a mistake, and if you're able to force them into a mistake, that's how you're going to be able to make a pass through there, especially in these McLarens that don't have a lot of drafting capability. And it really sucks coming to the long straightaway and really have to get on the brakes there to slow down. That turn 1, it's off camber, it's on camber, it kind of feels like the road is kind of shaking back and forth there. Yeah, all these turns are kind of off camber, like it's just doesn't feel quite right. It's like I said at the beginning of the broadcast, really hard to pin down, but just something weird and different about it, but challenging and fun at the same time. So it's kind of a track presents somewhat of a paradox in my mind.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's a very difficult track to kind of get into a rhythm and run consistent and quick laps, but once you do, it's a lot of fun.
See, a lot of the racing I've done, like on the sim racing, is like the open wheel, the Formula 1 stuff. I mean, Grand Prix Legends is a little different than this, I mean, the way the cars are, but in real life, the go-karts and kind of the open wheel cars is it's a lot about, like, you know, commitment into the corners, how you're approaching them, go through here. This car, of course, requires commitment, but there's a lot of finesse even in the higher downforce cars that you just don't get at other tracks, like, say, Suzuka, which we ran last week, which was all about pace and commitment and just trying to maintain your speed.
And Daniel Buck now going to see if he can't try and fight his way back up a couple positions here at the end. With just 2 minutes left in the race, he's got John Kuzlin just in front of him, holding on to that second place position. It also looks like they're trying to make their way past, Corey Davis, and Buck goes off. And Kuzlin is off, and they all three collide into each other. And John Kuzlin gets bumped around there as they try and make their way through the roller coaster. It looks like Daniel Buck may keep that position from John Kuzlin.
Yeah, that was just 3 cars into one, really didn't go there, and cars going off track, braking a little deep. That was a difficult situation because, I mean, you're not. I mean, you try to practice best you can, but really, it's kind of hard to get that one right. Kuzlin into the pits as well.
Davis was as well, so it looks like they might have broken a little suspension or something.
Actually, you know what? I think Corey was running out of fuel there too. I know he was mentioning that.
Oh yeah, quick
fuel
stop there for Davis.
So maybe that's what, unfortunately, maybe that's what caused that to back up more than people expected. I know Corey may have mentioned to us, but I forget. And unfortunately, it looks like Muniz has dropped back behind Robin about a second and a half now. So it looks like the way things are going, he'll have this lap and one more.
If he can keep control through the S's, yeah. That's what I meant. Sorry. Sickness taking hold.
Oh, yeah. I'm so sad you weren't on board there. That was a huge moment of about 180 degrees opposite lock there to not spin the car at Oak.
And just looking at my weather radar, noticing that there's a lot of red spots over my city. So, oh no, Daniel Verness is off out of 4th place. Will it be close enough for Andy Fuller? Oh, there's Fuller. Look at this. Fuller takes 4th position. Yep. So Fuller flies ahead into 4th position. Now Verness is going to try to run him back down again.
We've got one lap to do it, so he's really just hoping that Fuller makes a mistake and their last lap here around VIR. But he's been fairly consistent. There's a few little bits of drama that he had at the start of the race, but we haven't really seen a whole lot of him there through the second stint. So he's managed to keep the car pretty consistent, and it shows as he's up to 4th place.
There's John Kuzlin coming into the pits, unfortunately coming out in, well, 6th position, so he really didn't lose all that much by that incident. I mean, it's quite a lot of time and distance, but only 1 position, effectively. Yeah, Muniz has dropped almost 2 seconds behind Ainscough right now, so this is a battle going to the line.
Get interrupted before they finish, just so you're ready.
Oh yeah, no, we fully expect that. Guys will start coming across the line, so we'll try to keep an eye on this on the timing screens once we start cutting the race finishers. Whoa, hello! Oh, he's able to keep his foot in here and didn't lose a lot of time. He's still pushing hard. There's going to be his last real opportunity to make a pass, and there's Mike Kelly? Oh, there's White Foster. Mike Kelly on there for White Foster coming across the line there, taking the win in the LMPs, with Lauren Bateman coming across in 3rd place, which means that it's Todd Carvey and Jeremy Burris have locked in their 1st and 2nd there on all the short order. And here we go. Here comes the finish. We actually get to see this, hopefully. I think.
Yep.
There's Verness. I don't think he's got it, but they're going to come down to Hogpen. If Andy Fuller makes a little bit of a mistake, Verness will get him. Oh, and he does. He's off the curb, but no, it's not going to be enough. He's able to maintain his speed. Andy Fuller will take the 4th position ahead of Daniel Verness. That means also Robin Ainscough and Anthony Muniz got to within a second there, so that's settled, which means that I think that James Cullen will take the win there. Todd Carver coming across the line to win the Corvettes. So a good win for him. That'll pull him up in the championship there, since Dimas Milano was not able to race this week. And Corey Davis finds himself behind Troy Harder again. Coming to the line and... Whoa!
Did he? I think he might have got that.
Did he get that? I don't know. We'll see. Look at the timing screen, because I'll have to populate there. My timing screen shows him ahead, because he's actually ahead. But yay me!
Yeah, Brian Carey taking a nice 2nd place position, even after that
no
almost death he had. Yeah.
Where is the GT3 leader?
Owen Snyder coming across the lines. That's Ryan Huff, very slow coming across the line. Huff tries to... Did he get it? I don't know.
Oh, and 75 is ahead of 6, but 41 is ahead of... So Ryan Huff got it just barely. So
and Troy Harder stayed ahead of...
Wyatt Foster is still perfect, 100 points. Daniel Gralty in 2nd, 16 down. Ryan Huff and Brian Carey and Brent Briles are pretty much all battling out for 3rd, though. Dimas Milano and Todd Carver now tied for the 1st spot here with 96 points. Then Jeremy Burris down 14 points in third. And Lauren Bateman down 24th in fourth. And John Clusen down 37 in fifth. And let's see the McLarens. We've got James Cullen also with 96 points. Chris Darmon Jr. still there in second, 5 points down. Big jump there to Corey Davis, 21 points down. But Russell County Anthony Munoz is real close there, fourth and fifth. So I think that third spot may be reasonably up for grabs still.
And a lot of racing. Oh my God, that's Daniel Brands going off at ridiculous speed. That's sim racing, folks. You can take your frustrations on the car because it's not going to cost you.
And that was VIR. We've just done Sebring, so we'll have that broadcast for you next week. And then on to the Enduro, second Enduro of the season at Atlanta. And Watkins Glen Classic Boot, Brands Hatch, and finishing out the season at Road America.
I'm very excited for the end of the season. Here's some solid tracks. And here's Todd Carver trying to do some donuts. But anyways, yeah, no, it was an excellent race. Glad as many people got to the finish as they did in this track. It's very, very difficult. We got a nice symmetrical field there. Not as many LMPs getting to the finish, unfortunately, but no, it was a good race. Good to see everyone get through there. And Sebring the night race, next broadcast should be all right. Sorry, got distracted.
Hopefully it'll be all right. We'll see how it goes. It's decent to call, so there's enough light for us to see the cars pretty well. Although some of the I think the Kaiser Rensport cars can be hard to tell apart.
Fair enough.
All right, well, thank you as always to our sponsors, Z1 Simwheel, to Brian Carey and Anthony Muniz for their commentary, for the admins and racers here at ISRA League for making it all possible, and for you for watching. Have a good night.